Shawna Neal is a member of Kenosha Women's Network, and she earned her master's in clinical psychology and is a licensed massage therapist. She's worked as a counselor, workshop facilitator, and therapeutic body worker, all roles that include helping people to find the calm within themselves. Her new creation, Thank You Body card deck, so it's Thank You Body card deck, is a tool to help you deal more easily with life, connecting your mind, body, and spirit to find your own center. Shawna and her husband, John, own Giving Back Wellness, where you can schedule therapeutic body work. And she and her husband, John, sponsored Exuberant, a sculpture along the Kenosha Harbor Park sculpture walk. So take time to check that out. It's there for 2 years, like a year and a half more. So please help me welcome Shawna Neal.
Thank you.
All good? Okay. Hello. Well, I didn't know that Guido was going to do such a good introduction. So I was going to spend a minute talking about myself and 9 minutes for you, but now you guys can have almost all 10. So, yeah, my first degree is actually in industrial engineering. So I do like figuring things out and solving problems and that kind of stuff. But healing work is really what I enjoy, what I feel like I was put here on this planet to do. So mind body has fascinated me for decades, and that intersection mind body spirit, and that's where counseling has come in, and I'll get on my groove here, counseling and body work. But then I came up with a deck of cards to use it as a tool for people to use on their own. So the more that we can tap into our bodies, the less stress and anxiety. So we're going to experience some of that today, and we're going to be eating, so it's going to be a little tricky. But on your table, there should be a card for everybody, one with a sticker on the back and one without. So everyone's going to get a card that's called the rib cage card, and then your other card with the sticker on the back, they're going to be different. So I just heard somebody has a deck, they bought a deck of Thank You Body cards, and they put them on the back of their toilet, and I feel honored because every morning she starts her day with that focus. How can I get centered? And then that becomes a good focus for her throughout the day when she needs to remind herself, where can I bring my attention? So if we start with the rib cage card, everyone has the rib cage card, and we're going to start this seated. So we just kind of notice the rib cage. The cards also talk about chakras, and we're not going to talk about that right now, but if that's something you're interested in, the cards do lend themselves to that, and it's talked about in the book. So I'm protected and safe to love and be loved. So let's think about the rib cage, all that it's protecting, our heart and our lungs. And it needs to be strong, but it needs to be flexible. If it was just bone, it would be more tendency to break, but it's all the tissue and muscles between the rib cage that really help it do its job. So the more that we're a little bit more flexible, it helps. So anyone that wants to join me, and you can join in whenever you're ready, let's kind of think about that rib cage, and let's say that there's a string right here in the middle of the breastbone that's going to pull us forward, and then there's one in the back that's going to pull us back. Just kind of feel what that feels like. You can add your breath. Inhale and exhale. And just getting some movement while we bring our awareness to that area of our body. Our heart, our lungs, protected and safe. And what does that feel like? What do you notice? And then we'll pause. And then we're going to go side to side. So I'm going to take my rib cage, kind of like the old typewriters. We're just going to kind of go side to side. Just kind of getting a little bit of motion. And this is something that if you're stressed, you need something to do at your desk, you can do this. People are not really going to notice what you're doing. And that's really when I wrote the book, I wanted you to be able to do them at work, go to the bathroom, take a few minutes to really, an anxiety attack at work is not fun, right? And now let's connect all 4 of those points. So we're going to move our rib cage forward, side, we're going to make a circle back, side, breathing in, breathing out. What might that feel like? To just have a little more space, a little more flexibility. We'll pause, go the other direction. Just noticing. Now that's maybe been 3-4 minutes, guessing. And just now coming back to center, sitting still, noticing any difference you might feel, a little more freedom, upper body, a little more expansive breath, whatever it is. And you can spend as much time as you want with each exercise, each idea. So that's one example. We have a courageous crowd. Does anyone want to stand with me? Are people still eating? This is the tricky part, isn't it? It's like, all right. So you might have either an adrenals card or a hips low back card. So, adrenals. Sit back here on top of the kidneys. Maybe you want to put your hand back there. Let's just take a breath. Into the kidney or into the adrenals. They do a lot for us. When we need fight or flight, when we need to take action, when we need to get going, they jump in and provide that for us. They also sometimes stay in overdrive when we don't need them to. So this is something, maybe a rocking rhythmic motion, maybe something that you do automatically. I know if I pick up a child, I do it automatically because it calms our nervous system. And if you've ever noticed, you might see people just doing this naturally. Again, so it's something that you could do, like, I'm going to go scream at that person, or I'm just going to stand here for a minute, unobtrusively, breathing into my adrenals. Thank you for helping me calm down. So rhythmic motion, a really good way to calm down the nervous system, tapping into the body, using that body awareness. So kind of keep that one in mind. And then if we pause, some of you might also have the hips low back card. I deserve to move with ease and pleasure. So definitely an area that gets tight, especially as we get older, if we don't keep things moving. So I'm going to kind of be aware and just very gently, I'm just going to step forward and back. Just going to think about getting some motion in that hip, gentle motion to start. Somebody said earlier, we were talking before the group, motion is lotion, which is totally true for the joints, synovial fluid. That's what we need to get motion in there. If you want to pause and try that with the other foot. I used a similar statement. I said I want juicy hips. And the older I get, I want juicy hips. We need to keep them moving, right? And the looser, just let your hips be free if they want to move. The more freedom that we have in our hips, that also helps across the low back. So just moving with ease and pleasure, just being able to do that is nice. Let's move the hips in another way. If we point the toes in and out. So we're going to work with one leg at a time. The whole leg all the way up into the hip socket. Some of these things you could do on a Zoom call. You could do when you have a couple minutes break. It's good for the mind. It's good for the body. So they might wonder what they're doing. They might join in. You don't know. Pause. Let's just try the other one. In and out. So what I have found is the more naturally that we can just listen to what the body needs. It's like, wow, I feel really, my shoulder's stuck. So instead of not moving the shoulder, which way does the shoulder want to move? And just starting to listen to the body and letting it do those things, a couple minutes at a time can make a big difference. And getting us out of here and down into the body can make a really big difference. And that's what the card deck and the book is about. So it works on that mind, body, spirit level, calming the nervous system, calming our minds, bringing more freedom and ease into our bodies. So, questions at all? I know, is that about 10 minutes? Is that, okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So do you need the book and the cards?
The book, I would recommend both to get started. I will say this out loud. I'm working on YouTube videos so that you could, if you had the cards, you could go to Thank You Shoulders and get an exercise that way. But what's the advantage to the book is there's also information anatomically as well as what might that mean. So there was a author 40 years ago probably now, Louise Hay, who first started talking about the emotions that we hold in the body and what might that mean if we're struggling with a certain area of the body. So that's what some of the statements are about, and then the book will lend itself to that. So like the rib cage, we talk about what does it do for us physically and what might that mean for us on a emotional level or on a relationship level. You know, am I too stuck? Do I not have room for my heart and lungs to do their job? So that's, and there is one in the raffle table today. So
Shawna, where are you practicing these days?
I am at the building, the Wisconsin Center for Myofascial Release is where I do my individual body work.
Okay, cool.
Yes, and so the work that I do, I'm trained as a massage therapist, but more what I do is craniosacral, myofascial release, and something called brain therapy, and I do energy work. So it's
Directly with Kelly?
Kelly. Yeah, we tend to share some clients at this point. Yeah. She's been there a long time. She's pretty busy, and OT. So different. So not traditional massage. So calming the system down. So thank you.